Good morning, and we are back. So, the Beis Halevi. We were in the middle of the Beis Halevi. Let's continue. In the same way, he says, line 4. Just as one needs to sublimate and subordinate one's physical desires to serve Hashem, the same thing is to be mevatel sichloi lavodoso yizbarach. Now here he's talking about a really interesting thing. Be mevatel your seichel. Now, what does that mean? I'm going to ask you a very provocative question. If Hashem tells you, if Hashem tells you anything, you should probably go and see, somebody with a nice man with a white coat. But you know what I mean, right? So a triangle is a circle. And this is actually something that is discussed. I'm not going to go down there today. But what does he? We have to examine. What does he mean? Levatel sichlei lavodoso yizbarach v'hu b'ha'aminoi b'divrei ha'Torah eis asher lo yasig b'sichlei. To believe the aspects of Torah, that which cannot be achieved through reason. But he goes on to clarify. V'alkein misha niskalkel da'atoi cholila upog liboi milahamin. Somebody whose das has been corrupted. Your hard drive has been corrupted. We have a neshama, right, which is essentially the hardware, and we will get to it in the fullness of time. Some quite amazing lashonos in the Rambam and in his letters and in other places about Emunah being a spiritual koyach in the nefesh. We'll get to that. And yet at the same time, the Rambam walks this tightrope of still giving pride of place to the seichel. And how does he achieve that? Is a journey we're gonna be going down.
One counter question to your question, your provocative question. What if you said the circle is a whatever?
Dreieck is yeah.
How about if it would say that in Tehillim or in the Chumash?
But it doesn't.
Okay,
it doesn't say anything impossible in the Torah. It says things which go. It says things which more than that. Right. It says things. I mean, let's.
I wanted to
So you
point to the fact that.
Well, we have Nissim in the Torah. We have Nissim in the Torah. We have. So we have that. We have plenty of that in the Torah. We have statements of episodes which are absolutely run counter to the laws of physics as we know them. Welcome to the world of Nace.
Yeah.
Isn't the Rambam holding that all these are actually within the laws of possibility of nature?
You're on very thin territory, very thin ice, my friend. That needs to be no. It's it needs. This is a. You need to really quote chapter and verse properly. In its entirety. And you know what? No, Eli, I know where you're coming from. And you there is a basis, of course, to what you're saying. You didn't just make it up. I know exactly where you're coming from. And we will examine this a little bit later down the line, hopefully. How does the Rambam view Nissim? Well, that's a fascinating, it's a subtopic. But let's just go straight to davening, right? V'ne'emon ato lahachayos mesim. We said it this morning before breakfast, right? Now, Tchias HaMesim.
We grow meat in the lab nowadays.
Sorry, no. I'm not going to let you get away with that. I'm sorry. There is one thing, cryogenics and all this sort of stuff. We are talking about somebody, not somebody who was frozen. We're talking about somebody who has been dead for thousands of years. This runs counter to everything that we know about physics. V'ne'emon ato. In fact, I'll take it further. Rav Hutner and others point out, which is why we say ve'ein doi melach micha moicha, because it's a uniqueness. We specifically in the context of the bracha of Tchias HaMesim, which has a number of shall we say, subdivisions. There's 5 different layers or levels of aspects of Tchias HaMeisim, from the most, well, maybe counterintuitive, which is Geshomim, which is why Geshem is in the Tchias HaMeisim, which is another topic, all the way to the full-blown Tchias HaMeisim, and that's why we say, Mi chomoicho ba'al gevuros umi doimeloch. We very specifically exclude any other force, any other natural force of being able to do this. This is an aspect where we are highlighting the Yichud Hashem.
But Yesh and Ayin is only Hashem. I don't know, in that case, I don't know if that is kind of a Yesh and Yesh, kind of,
but it's still, Tchias HaMeisim is Midoi Melach. Ve'ein Doi Melach. Michomoicha. Okay, how do we get onto that? Let's get back. So, somebody who's niskalkel dato, he says the Beis Halevi, somebody who's niskalkel dato, cholila upogli boi milahamin. Hare ein koyach biyad chaveiroi l'rapois machalosoi lachziroi l'mutav. What happens if somebody's emunah becomes chas v'shalom, becomes weak or possibly non-existent? Well, sorry, that's what it means, and therefore he's unable to lahamin. Upogli boi milahamin. Now you're right. Eli's right. How did he get there? Because his das has become corrupt. How has his das become corrupt? He doesn't really say, but if you listening yesterday, you will understand, because it's the v'lo sasuru achrei levavchem v'achrei einechem. The atheism of today, the so-called modern atheism, is based on what? It may ostensibly be based on science. Richard Dawkins is a scientist. There is no question about it. He is a scientist, but being a scientist does not arrogate to him the right to be a theologian. And, the selfish gene and all this other stuff, the God delusion. Yeah, I think I've said this to you before. The Financial Times, I think in the review of the God delusion, called him, with a delicious irony, the high priest of atheism, because he has clearly strayed over into the line of polemicism is the correct term, which means he's made up his mind. There is no question about it. And there's other, we could, maybe we could go down that route of showing you how the strident, militant modern atheism is. It's not based on evidence. In fact, some of them even say mufurish, Richard Lewontin and others. It's despite the evidence. And they say this mufurish, absolutely clearly. But be that as it may, that was
according to Jewish views, a very accurate.
That was the irony. That is exactly what exactly. So, as we said yesterday, let's go back. There is a predisposition which is poirek oil. Poirek oil, as we saw, is to do whatever I want. Now, in order to do whatever I want, I need to have a framework within which to place my liberty to do that behavior. And that's what they do. So therefore, once your das has been corrupted, then I'm stuck. You either believe or you don't believe. This is a problem. Eli, this is the problem he's dealing with. So what do I do? רק לבקש מאס השם שייתן בליבוי אמונוסוי ויטהר ליבוי לעבודוסוי יזברך. Daven. That Hashem v'yosim b'libeinu, he should give us his emunah. V'al kein tikun kol ha'olam kuloi ubi'urei shel ha'yetzer hara be'inyan emunah Mekavim anachnu laHashem ki yashkif mimorin v'yavir hara min ha'olam v'yaminu kulam bo yizbarach v'yatzu shchem echad la'ovdoi. The time will come when Hashem will get rid of the Yetzer Hara. V'al inyan biur zeh shel ha'yetzer v'vtiach HaKadosh Baruch Hu v'amar ki mochei emchez zeh chamalek b'tachas hashamayim sheHashem yizbarach yivatloi. HaKadosh Baruch Hu will be mevatlit. V'raya brur l'chol advarim ha'ne'emarim hu divrei ha'yalkut. Okay, I think we can skip this. I want to get to the bit that I want. When your das has become corrupted, then all you can do is daven. That is what the Beis Halevi is saying. Back to what we saw in what I said over to you yesterday from the Reb Chaim, there is Emunah and there is Das. The way the Das is what you can achieve through your Seichel. Emunah is when Seichel stops, when you go beyond what you can possibly work out. What we want to try and go through a little bit today is the machlekas, a big machlekas, and that is the derech, the pathway. I mentioned to you yesterday, there's different books out there in the market, and some of them are diametrically opposed, and it does go back to a machlekas. So let me tell you a story.